that the media would be full of it. And celebrations and the like Thanksgiving and the 4th of July would pale by comparison. That's the beginning of a challenge to me. Let's hear what Father Anthony Gittins has to offer us now.
Thank you very much, Mike. And good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I am honored and delighted to be here, and I hope this microphone behaves itself. If you have a handout, let's get going. Late August 2005, we all knew it was going to be spectacular. There was a certain fascination in watching a colossal hurricane gather its fearsome strength and set a course for New Orleans and Biloxi. Yet much of the impact depended on where you were when it struck. Most of us only know about Katrina through newsreels. But in these 2 days, we'll gain a tiny bit of direct experience. We're not here either for educational immersion or for tourism. New Orleans has been chosen neither for nostalgia nor guilt inducement, but specifically as a context for our ongoing reflection on the challenge of mission. How we try to remain faithful to our own baptismal call should be refined and refocused this weekend. Recall the bare facts. Katrina came ashore 1,500 days ago, leaving 1,836 people dead, 124,000 homes destroyed, and $50 billion in uninsured and therefore uncompensated damages, as well as the rank smell of decay and abandonment, and indelible images of the most shameful and the most heroic of human responses. It was a terrible episode whose consequences are still ongoing, and is part of our common memory story. But did it impact you and I in any palpable way? Was it in any sense a call to our own ongoing conversion? Or is it just one more in a never-ending litany of disasters? Hardly a month ago, an earthquake in Indonesia claimed thousands of lives, and a tsunami in Samoa hundreds. But what impact did they have on us? How quickly did we forget? 10 years ago, another earthquake in Turkey took 15,000 lives, and the terrible Christmas tsunami of 2004 cost 250,000. Even Hurricane Mitch in 1998 killed 11,000. These numbing figures put the near 3,000 lives lost on 9/11 and Katrina's near 2,000 victims into some perspective. But whether such disasters strike us personally or not, as people of compassion, with missionary hearts, we must ask how they challenge us, the way we live, and the lives of the poor and needy people we encounter daily, or maybe simply avoid. We must reflect, and we must reassess our own priorities, our lifestyles, and our own commitment to the way of Jesus. This theme that we're going to consider these days is compelling. God says, I am about to create a new heaven and a new earth. But God is no magician and no conjurer, and the promise is partly contingent on our own collaborative response. The quotation is part of an oracle in which Isaiah expresses his prophetic dissatisfaction with the status quo and affirms his own dedication. Quote, I was ready to be sought out by those who did not ask. I said, here I am, and I held out my hands to a rebellious people. That's Isaiah 65, verse 1. And then he describes God's reaction to a faithless people. God warns of dire punishment saying, when I called, you did not answer. When I spoke, you did not listen. But then God's tone changes. And instead of admonition, there is a promise from God to cherish the faithful remnant. And it's at this point that God declares, I am about to create a new heaven and a new earth. And God abrogates punishment for anybody willing to repent by changing their lives. And that, of course, is where you and I come in. God's abiding faithfulness applies to all who do not lose faith. But God's promise also requires full participation, a repentant spirit, from all who constitute the faithful remnant. As Rudy Beebe put it, you repent not by feeling bad, but by thinking differently. It's far easier to feel bad and do nothing than it is to think differently and to act boldly and to change the world. We all of us spend a lifetime learning how and what to think, and in the process we become resistant to change and fixed in our own ideas, our own perspectives, and in fact our own prejudices. But we can only form a godly vision by discerning what God is asking of us, not by following our own myopic perspective, or presuming to tell God exactly what we intend to do, and then expecting God to be overwhelmed by our generosity and our wisdom. So here's my challenge to everyone. Over the next 24 hours, as you experience and ponder and listen and chat, identify specifically how you are thinking differently and how you resolve to act differently when you get home. On Sunday we will share these reflections if they are to be found in this box, which will be over there. So please, tomorrow particularly, think how you will act differently and make a suggestion that you, not a suggestion to us of something that you will do. So what's new about the new heaven and earth? There are two tasks before us: to identify some pictures of this new heaven and earth, and then to name appropriate missionary responses. The image of a new creation is fairly common in the Hebrew Bible and in the apocryphal literature. In Isaiah 43, God says, do not remember the former things, I am about to do a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? This is an invitation to move beyond past mistakes, with steadfast trust in our faithful and innovative God. But in the promise that gives our confidence esteem, the new is in fact remarkably similar to the old. So life will continue without dramatic changes. People will still die, and there is no promise of immediate resurrection or immortality. God will not sweep down and create instantaneous and miraculous change. But there is some novelty. The prophet's own waking dream, the burning hope he wants to ignite in his hearers for a kind of utopia, freedom from grief, from premature death, from oppression, and from exploitation. This is the ideal that we must strive for. We have no exact utopian blueprint for an alternative tomorrow, but we can have what some McFay call an atopia or an atopia, which is an imagined world, both prophetic and alluring, from which we can judge what is wrong with the paradigm that has created the present crisis on